Hey guys, welcome back. Doing another cake in semi-terrible quality again, but I'm still pretty excited to show you. I already finished the cake, so I'm recording this intro and outro after the cake has been completed, and yeah, I'm pretty stoked about it. So I decided to do the Ohmu, or that giant insect from Studio Ghibli? Nausicaa Valley of the Wind. If you haven't seen the movie, it's kind of like a predecessor of Princess Mononoke. Pretty similar themes about nature and the environment and what humanity's role in it is. It's probably another reason why I'm really drawn to it. Just a big fan of that theme. If you haven't seen the Ohmu before, it's kind of like this giant larval pill bug, you know, like those roly-polies you'd see as a kid. It has like a set of eyes that are usually blue and calm, but red when it turns angry, and I thought I'd do the red version just because it seemed a lot more fun to do an angrier Ohmu. I also really love the bumpy, spiky texture of the Ohmu. I feel like the one thing I missed out on the cake I made previously, which was the killer clown, please check it out when you get a chance, is that I was excited to sculpt in pure buttercream, but I kind of missed out on doing all those little fine details and all that textural work that I like to do. Turns out the textural part is probably my most favorite part of sculpting. So yeah, apologies again if it gets pretty grainy. I decided to switch back to my normal camera going forward, at least as much as possible. So hopefully it's better from here, but I'm still super excited to show you nonetheless. Hope you enjoy. Here is the sketch I made. Apologies for not having footage of the work in progress. And again, the paper's all dirty, just like with my clown sketch, because I had been baking and using it as a reference. I did a side view as well as a front view just so I could get a better idea of how his body is constructed. I knew it was going to be a little bit tricky because it was kind of like this armored look. But yeah, I kind of wish I kept this a little cleaner because I do like how the sketch turned out. I did base it on a figurine that someone's selling online versus the actual movie, just because it had more texture and it was easier to reference. Starting off with actually making the cake, I'm still using that white cake mix from Pillsbury as my base instead of making it from scratch, and then I add gel food coloring. I believe I added a mixture of blue and green. I kind of wanted to give him like a teal turquoise look. The fondant I'm using is actually turquoise in color too. It was a little pastel-y and cute looking, but I didn't mind that. I mean, ultimately, the Ohmu's a good character. I was going to kind of give some black detailing with some black food coloring on his outsides to give him a more beastly look. In terms of the base structure, I decided to put the layers vertical instead of horizontal, and that would make for just a better shape to start with because he is kind of this like character that's laying on its belly. I am still a little slow with smearing on frosting on anything, but slowly getting better. I can see how the professionals make it look so easy. After layering the cake, I actually put it in the fridge to kind of solidify a bit more and harden so it's easier to sculpt. I also realized I needed to bulk up certain parts so that I didn't have to use like pure frosting or pure fondant to give him his look. Good to know for future projects that I don't throw anything away. Now to the nerve-wracking part, actually sculpting him out. I do it just a little bit at a time because I'm nervous that if I take too big of a chunk off, I can't get that piece back. Just gonna pause for a moment to show off this super cute GIF my husband sent me.
Aww.
And then crumb coating. So I had leftover frosting that already had some food dye in it. Just a little bit, but that was okay because I had a whole tub of white frosting to use up. I just didn't want anything to go to waste. This is actually only the first layer of crumb coat, and then I went in again with another thick layer. Probably the most satisfying part in terms of frosting. Here's that turquoise fondant I mentioned. It looked kind of X-rated. I don't know, it looked really funny how they packaged it. But yeah, cut off a chunk of that. Also trying to use a little bit at a time so that there's no waste. This fondant is actually not very well rated, at least on the Michaels website, but I had no problem using it. Here's that bit of brown fondant I had rolled out earlier to cover the base of him. And then I began to slowly put on the turquoise fondant, one layer at a time, give him that armored look. And here you could see me kind of mapping out where his eyes should go. I skipped a few parts, but it was really me just doing the same thing over and over again. I kind of worked backwards, which kind of made it more of a pain in the butt, but I was just a little nervous about making sure that all of the armor pieces matched up correctly. Then came the really tedious part of constructing his legs. I didn't spend too much time on him, but it was okay. I was pretty eager to get into the actual texture of his body, which you can see me start doing here. So he does have several spikes. I did make the spikes more larger and pronounced than they were in the movie, but I just enjoyed that look. For the bumpiness, I didn't think too hard about it. I went in and made little tiny rolled up pieces of fondant and stuck them on. I also made little mini chubby spikes to give him more texture just on his body overall. So you can see, especially here, I took some liberties in terms of what I wanted him to look like. I went in with a pointed tool to kind of pebble around him. And then the isomalt. This is my first time using isomalt. I got some food gel coloring. I didn't look up any directions in terms of dyeing the food gel because sometimes I just do it without thinking, but it turned out okay. I do need to work on pouring sugar into molds or just working with isomalt in general. My first time, so I won't be too hard on myself. It was a clumsy process at first, but they came out surprisingly nice, like really beautiful gemstoned eyes. I didn't have too much issue with any bubbling. Any texture that came out, I was actually happy with because I don't want them to be perfect anyways. And then the ultra satisfying part of this project was inserting the eyeballs into the Ohmu. Looking back, the eyeballs are definitely smaller than they are in the movie and the manga, but it was okay. I didn't have a lot to work with in terms of my molds. They were a bit small. Just, I guess, something I have to think about next time in terms of scale. but I was really happy with it. Like, you can see how happy I am. Last step was to shade him all in. So this is a mixture of black food coloring and water, and here he is. He looks a little dirty, but that's actually the look I was going for. I'm not the best in terms of doing like realistic shading, so hopefully I improve on that, but I was really happy with how he turned out. To cut into him to give him a taste, but I also want to mention this happened when I took him out of the fridge too, and I had to coat his eyeballs with some hot water to make them glisten more in pictures than in video. But you can see as they dry again, it looks like they're cracking, but they're not. They're actually just wrinkly. Like the sugary water just kind of wrinkles as it dries, which isn't the prettiest look from far away. I guess you can't really tell, but just something to note when it comes to trying to get that shine back with water, I believe. Reminder that the cake is actually laying on its side, so when I cut into him, it looks like I have this giant layer of frosting, but it's only because it's kind of cut on a diagonal. So I swear it's normal proportion of cake to frosting. It just looks kind of funky. And that was my Nausicaa Ohmu bug cake. I hope you enjoyed it. I actually had a ton of fun doing it. I did end up forgetting to actually flavor the cake. To be honest, I didn't even really think of it that much. When I briefly did, I was like, what do I flavor a cake that's the shape of an insect? But it still had vanilla in it, still tasted really good. Most of it's sitting in my freezer now so that I can slowly chip away at it. So it was delicious. Thank you so much for watching till the very end. I have some pretty exciting projects that I'm conjuring up in my head right now. So if you're interested, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap that bell, and I will see you next time. Bye.